Hello, everyone. My name is Alexandra Rosas, and today we're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to my heart because I think it's so important. And so it's going to be self-care for you and your family. Why is it important? And how can you incorporate it into your life? We will also be talking about the different types of self-care. There's different types of self-care for different areas. And we will be talking about different examples of self-care for you and your family within those areas. Let's get started. Okay, so here are two quotes which I feel really encompass the concept of self-care. The first one is, self-care is not selfish. And the second one is, do something today that your future self will thank you for. The first one is very important because there's a notion that self-care is selfish because we're doing something we enjoy. And that is simply not true. Self-care is a necessity. It will help us with stress and it is good for our health. And so much like eating is a necessity, we need it to survive. Just because we're enjoying the meal we make for ourselves does not make us selfish. And so self-care is very much within that category where we're fulfilling a need that we should fulfill in a way we enjoy. And that is wonderful. I wish everything was like that, right? Where we could do what we need to do in a way we enjoy. And so because self-care is a necessity, that's why it is not selfish. It is very important to make it a priority in your life. The second quote is also important because self-care is also about thinking ahead and doing what is best for you in the long run. So sometimes maybe there are things you don't necessarily want to do, but you should do it because you know that your future self will thank you. So in the long run, it's better for you. So that's why I really like that second quote for self-care. So here are some of the stressors experienced by parents. There are many others, but these are some of the more prevalent ones. There are parenting concerns, our kids' well-being, definitely, and how can we help them? Are we helping them in the right way? All those things are part of the concerns we may have. Financial concerns and work stress are some of the stressors we experience. Health concerns, whether it's our own health or health of our loved ones, if someone we love has health concerns that can affect us. Relationship with our kids and relationship with our partner, whether it's stressors within the relationship that can affect us, or just outside factors that are taking its toll on the couple or our relationship with our kids. Our kids' future, what they're going to do, are they going to be happy? Those are sometimes things that we think about that can be on our mind, and just feeling overwhelmed in general. Those are some of the stressors we experience. Some of the stressors experienced by our kids are seen here, whether our kids are in elementary school or middle school or high school. They will experience these stressors to some degree. Self-discovery is a lifelong process, but it is especially prevalent during the formative years because they're getting new information all the time. They're learning new things about themselves and the world around them. So that's something that is exciting, but can also be a stressor. Relationship with others, either with friends or with family, there can be stress in those relationships as well. Academic life, homework, either the content, sometimes they don't understand what is being presented, and sometimes they do understand what's being presented, but it's just the amount of homework that they have. So that can be a stressor. And grades associated with any schoolwork, homework or tests. Bullying and peer pressure, unfortunately, is always there. Meeting expectations, whether it's expectations they set on themselves or expectations by others. And also future plans. Going back to the self-discovery part, if they don't know what their future plans are, that could be stressful. When kids are in school, it's a lot of, what do you want to be when you grow up, and what are you doing after graduation? And so if they don't know what that is yet, that can be stressful. And even if they do know what it is, if they know, okay, I want to do this when I graduate or when I grow up, meeting those goals, it can also be a stressor for them. When individuals experience stress, it can come out in different ways. And so sometimes when we're stressed, it can come out in physical behaviors such as nail biting, teeth grinding. The sleep and diet can be negatively affected also. It can show up in other ways such as forgetfulness, constant worrying, moodiness, being irritable. And job and school performance can also be affected if when stress presents itself. The next thing I'm going to show you is a video that I think beautifully exemplifies how we feel and what self-care can do for us.
Let me introduce you to the stress bucket. The bucket is you, and the water is the stress that you face every day. Sometimes that stress might just be a little trickle, but other times it comes thick and fast. Now, everyone only has so much capacity, so at some point the thing is going to overflow and you are going to be overwhelmed. What if I told you that every time you exercise, it's like doing this? You make time to see friends, it's like doing this. You make time to rest, and relaxation. So even if the stress keeps coming, as long as you have enough small self-care habits, the bucket will never overflow and you'll never have to get overwhelmed.
I love that video because I think we've all felt like that sometimes, where we're overwhelmed or we've taken on more than we could actually do. And so the video shows how the stress will come in different ways, sometimes a lot, sometimes a little bit. But as long as we do self-care practices throughout, we can manage the stress. Okay, so what exactly is self-care? Self-care is deliberately making time for yourself to do something which enhances your health in some way. It sounds broad because it is. The key words here are deliberately, yourself, and enhance your health. But we need to make a conscious effort, so a deliberate effort, to do something for ourselves, not for our kids or our partner or work or anybody else, but something that is specific to us, which enhances our health, aka is good for us in some way. So if it is unhealthy, substance use, overeating, anything like that, it is not considered self-care just because it feels good. Self-care will be different things for different people, and it'll be different things for the same person on different days. It depends on what your needs are for the day. And so there are some self-care practices that can take 5 to 10 minutes. Some will take 30 to 60 minutes at the end of the day, maybe, and others can be weekend getaway. It can be with people, it can be without people. And self-care can also be a luxury. It can be pampering yourself, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And so sometimes self-care is taking 5 minutes at the start of your day to do some stretching or do some breathing exercises. Other times when you've had a stressful day, maybe you want to unwind with some friends to decrease the stress, or maybe you want some time to yourself to lower the stress. So there's no one way to do self-care. The only thing is to do whatever you need at that moment. So here are some of the risks of not practicing self-care. So we talked about how stress presents itself. So it continues, it could lead to some of these things. The first one is burnout, which is when we are emotionally and physically exhausted, we lose motivation, and it affects all areas of our life. Stress is on here because self-care is also preventative. So not only does it help manage the stress, but it can also help prevent stress, unnecessary stress in the future. Physical pain is a risk of not practicing self-care because we're not taking care of ourselves physically, and then also stress can have physical effects. Procrastination is sometimes a risk because we can procrastinate as a way to escape, as well as mindless scrolling can fall in that category also. When we don't practice self-care, we might be stressed, so let's get on an app and look at stuff, and that could lead to mindless scrolling. And if we're tired, we're not really conscious of how long we've been on there, and then we're there a long time. and then we're tired for the next day. And so then it continues that way. And mindless scrolling is also, can also be counterproductive because we sometimes use it as an escape from whatever is, stressing us out. But keep in mind that we're looking at everyone's highlight reels and we know our behind the scenes, right? Like we know everything that's going on in our lives. But when we look at other people's, whatever we're looking at, we see that they're highlight reels. And so it could, make us feel bad about ourselves. And so it's counterproductive. Other risks of not practicing self-care are using unhealthy methods as coping skills. Again, substance use, drinking, overeating, that kind of stuff. On the other hand, here are some benefits of self-care. It is clinically proven to reduce anxiety and depression. It helps reduce stress because we are using tools to help prevent and manage the stress. It increases happiness because we are doing things we enjoy and things that are good for us. Improved physical health because we're taking care of our physical self-care. Helps with self-regulation and can help build strong relationships. And I'm going to expand on those a little bit. So self-regulation is important because it is the ability to control one's behavior, emotions, and thoughts in the pursuit of long-term goals. Emotional self-regulation refers to the ability to manage disruptive emotions and impulses. In other words, to think before we speak. When we don't have self-regulation, we can say things we regret or make choices we wouldn't usually make, or overthink things that, when we're well rested and feel good, we wouldn't overthink. And so those are all things that can lead to stress in the future if we make a decision when we weren't ready to make a decision. And so this was good. This is very important for everybody, but it's especially important for the younger kids, and I mean kids in general, but younger kids, because then that's when they're learning how to manage their emotions, and they have a lot of emotions going on. The next one is that it helps build stronger relationships. So aside from the benefits we'll be experiencing in our own life, by taking care of ourselves, we'll be more patient with others because our stress bucket will be low, right? So then we'll be able to have more patience with those we interact with. We'll be able to express and get our needs met in a better way because we'll be more conscientious and clear of what those are. And we'll be able to help those we love with their needs because we'll be feeling our best. So this will definitely help our parent-child relationship because we will have more patience despite whatever stressors we're feeling to when we interact with our youngsters, and they will have more patience with us too, right? When they've been doing their self-care. And so it really helps the parent-child relationship when everyone's doing their self-care. So, okay, now that we've seen how beneficial self-care can be, we're going to be talking about the different areas where we can practice self-care. There are different self-care techniques that help us with different types of health. And so the three we're going to be focusing on today are physical health, mental health, and emotional health. The first area we'll be focusing on is physical self-care. And although these practices are under the physical category, self-care is a very holistic practice. So you will also feel it in the emotional and mental health. That being said, these are some of the important aspects we can focus on under physical self-care. Okay, so exercise and good nutrition had a lot of the same benefits, so I put them here on the same slide. One of the main benefits is that it helps boost mood and energy. So when we work out, it makes us feel good and gives us energy throughout the day. It also gives us a sense of accomplishment. If we do our workout before, maybe not right when we wake up, but a little bit after we wake up, before we start our day, we already feel accomplished that, oh, I already did something today. And then it seems counterintuitive to like, well, if I work out, I'm going to be more tired, but it gives us more energy throughout the day. So, and of course, when we eat well, that gives us more energy as well versus eating unhealthy foods, and we might feel kind of sluggish and not as much energy as when we eat all the nutrient-based stuff. It also helps brain function. Exercise helps us cognitively. A lot of times when we study, they recommend to do an exercise regimen along with it because research shows that coupling the two together helps us retain information better. So that's definitely good for students and adults too. Hopefully we're students throughout our whole life, but especially when our kids are in school, it's important for them to be active to help them with their learning abilities. And eating the right foods and nutrients will help keep your brain sharp and focused as well. It makes the bones and muscles stronger. It makes the heart stronger. It aids in weight management, and it improves sleep because we'll be being more active, and all our systems will be working more in tune with each other. Okay, so here are the different physical activity recommendations for different age groups. So for preschool children ages 3 to 5, physical activity every day throughout the day. So what that means is just that they don't go too long sitting down or in sedentary, that they remain active throughout the day. Children and adolescents 6 to 17 years, 60 minutes or more of moderate to vigorous intensity physical activity daily. So this can be done through PE classes, walking between classes for our older children, sports after school, physical activities with friends. Our kids have physical activity more naturally ingrained into their daily schedule, but if they need additional time, you can also do it after school or on the weekends as a family. Adults ages 18 plus, at least 150 minutes a week of moderate intensity activities, such as brisk walking. So if you want a little me time, you can do the walking while the kids are in school. It works out to roughly 5 days a week, 30-minute walks. So you can do it during the week while the kids are in school, or if you want to do it as a family activity, you can wait till the evening when they come home and everybody goes on a walk together. That's always nice. You can also go to the gym if you want to do some exercising. Any in-person things that sometimes they have classes at the park or an outdoor once the weather's nicer, of course. And so you can also do YouTube workouts where if you want to have them recorded and do it at your convenience, or you can even sign up for a Zoom class where there's an instructor and you have fellow classmates. It's just a virtual thing instead of going in person, but you still get the feel of being in a class with other people. So those are always fun. So here's some suggestions for exercise. For individual activities for adults, it could be walking or jogging around the block, scheduled classes such as Pilates, yoga, or spinning, and YouTube workouts. Activities for children could be organized sports at school, organized sports in the community, outdoor activities, sports with friends, and the YouTube workouts also. And some things you can do as a family are walks, hikes, basketball, baseball games at the park, bicycling, swimming, or jogging at the beach are always fun too. Okay, so nutrition is very important because when we feel good physically and are conscientious about what we put into our body, it carries over into other areas such as our sleep, mood, energy. Here are some nutrition reminders that we probably all heard before. Lots of fruits and vegetables, the more color, the better. Stay hydrated, water is key. Limit sugars and processed foods. Watch caloric intake and meal planning. I want to talk about meal planning for just a little bit. Whether it's for a week or for the day, meal planning helps us because then we can think about our meals versus going for what's in front of us at the time. If we're hungry, we might go for unhealthy snacks or buy unhealthy fast food. But if we plan what we're going to eat, then we can plan for a healthier meal and buy the necessary ingredients. I try to plan for the week and it has really helped me. Sometimes I don't get around to it, life happens. And so I try to at least plan for the day. In the morning. I think, okay, what am I going to make for lunch today? Because if I wait until 1 or 2 when everyone's hungry, it's not always the healthiest choices that get made. So when I think about it a little bit, then we can make it a little more conscientious meal planning of what we're going to do. And cooking is also a great activity to do with the family. When you can go to the store and buy the ingredients, maybe grow your own vegetables, make the meal together. And that's always wonderful quality time with the kids. Bonus, if you have picky eaters, cooking as a family will make them more willing to try new foods. They were part of the process, so then they want to taste what they created. So then that's always a good way to try new foods. Okay, there are several benefits of being in nature. On a physical level, we receive vitamin D, which helps us have healthy bones. It lowers our cortisol levels, which is our primary stress hormone. And it increases our serotonin, which helps us stabilize our mood. So that's all just from being outside. Another benefit is that we spend so much time on our screens. As adults, we do work on our screen, the kids do homework on their screens, and we also use our screens for fun, right? Like they are on iPad playing stuff, we might be on our phones doing stuff, or we might watch TV. These are all screen-based activities. And so one of the benefits of being in nature is that we can have time away from the screen, and it helps us with our focus and concentration in general, and also when we go back to doing whatever it is we need to do. The sounds of nature are very relaxing, and they're so relaxing that they're put on machines so that we can be relaxed at home. So here's a way for us to get it in the real world. Studies have shown that even just looking at the window at nature has positive effects. So if you don't get a chance to go outside for whatever reason, just looking at the window can have the positive effects. So maybe we can take a moment and look at the window every once in a while. So we're lucky that we live in a place with beautiful landscapes. So here's some self-care activities to do in nature. Walk around the block, hiking, going to the beach, gardening, bicycling. And I mean, there's so many others. And so, yeah, if you guys have any other suggestions, things that you love, I'd love to hear about them in the chat. Okay, so next topic is breathing exercises. So this is the mind-body connection is very strong, calm body, calm mind, and vice versa. So when we're stressed or nervous in some way, we tend to breathe faster. Our heart rate begins to go more rapidly. We may begin to perspire. And so all of these symptoms send a message to our brain that, oh, we're under stress. And so in our brain thinks, oh, we're under stress. So it goes into stress mode. And since then the physical symptoms become worse, and it becomes a cycle that way. By taking a pause and doing some breathing exercises, it helps regulate our breathing and lowers our heart rate. And that signals to our mind that we are calming down, we're relaxed. And so then when our mind thinks that we're relaxed, it sends that message to our body. And then the cycle moves in the other direction. It moves in a calming direction. So we can do breathing exercises when we're stressed to help regulate our breathing, or we can do it when we're relaxed as a form to get our body to practice. And also just because it feels good, right? So now we're going to do a breathing exercise. I will walk you through it once, and then I will say it again at a slower pace. So we're going to breathe in through the nose for 2 seconds, and then hold it for 2 seconds, and then exhale through the mouth for 4 seconds. And the exhale is a focused exhale, as if you're blowing out a candle. Okay, so if you feel so inclined, you may close your eyes. Now, take a deep breath for 2. 1, 2, hold, 1, 2, and exhale through the mouth for 4. 2, 3, 4. How do you feel? Do you feel more relaxed? Can you feel it in your body? So for kids, we can do cookie breathing, which is basically the same exercise we just did, but it has more of the visual going on, so they can imagine it better. So first we smell our favorite cookie for 2 seconds, and then we hold it, enjoying the scent, and then we're blowing on it because it just came out of the oven. So we blow on it for 4 seconds. And that way they can do the breathing exercise also, and it's in language that they understand because they want the cookies, they like the cookies. The great thing about breathing exercises is that you can do them anywhere. You don't need any additional tools or anybody else, you just need yourself. Students have told me that they like doing the breathing exercises because it helps them before tests, and also because nobody knows they're doing it, so they can do it to themselves, like by themselves, and no one can know, and it helps them. You can also do them before bed or as a way to relax, or when you wake up as a way to start the day. If you have a job that requires you sitting a lot, you can use it as breaks between the meetings or whatever sitting arrangements you have. Breathing exercises are a wonderful self-care practice for when you have a few minutes, but sometimes that's all you need, right? A few minutes to like do a little reset and then continue with your day. Another important part of self-care is sleep. Having a good night's sleep is very important because it has so many benefits. We've all had those days when we don't get enough sleep and we're a little moodier and a little more sensitive, and we've definitely seen that with our kids, and they might not have the same concentration they usually do and that kind of thing. So a good night's sleep is very important for everything. And so here's how much sleep is recommended per age. I know sometimes it's hard for us and our kids to get a good night's sleep, so that's where good hygiene can help. So good sleep hygiene, sorry. So sleep hygiene are a set of good habits that help you get a good night's sleep on a more consistent basis. So here are some tips for how to do that. So try to go to bed at the same time every day. It may be tempting to stay up late on the weekend, but in general, try to go to bed at the same time every day. Set the ambiance in the room. Keep your room dark. If you have lights off, and if you have a TV there, don't turn it on at night. Cool temperature, not cold, just slightly cooler than what you have during the day. And no electronics, specifically the phone, right? So if you don't want to be on your phone right before you go to bed, because you might get overstimulated and it'll wake you up. And or as you're going to sleep, you might be getting notifications, or it might be tempting to check it. So if possible, put your phone in another room. No caffeine, alcohol, or exercise too close to bedtime. All of these things will alter your body in some way, and so it'll affect your sleep. Caffeine will stimulate your system, so it is not recommended past 3 p.m. in the afternoon. Alcohol might make you go to sleep at first, but then throughout the night, it'll affect your sleep, so it won't be a restful sleep. It'll wake you up later on in the night. And exercise too close to bedtime is not recommended because, again, as we talked about before, it gives you energy. And so it's not recommended within 2 hours of when you're going to go to bed. If you do exercise in the morning, it'll help you go to sleep because you'll be more tired from being more active during the day. So exercise in the morning, good. And finally, the last thing is to follow the same bedtime routine every day. Brush your teeth, use the same lotion. When you go to bed, do some reading. When you do the routine, you'll be able to go to sleep even on days that you're not that tired, because your body, after a while of doing it, your body will pick up on the contextual cues of, oh, okay, it's bedtime. Like much like we do with very young kids when they're babies, it's like, okay, put their pajamas on and do this. And then, most of the time they go to sleep because they're tired, but even on days when they're not that tired, they know, oh, okay, it's bedtime, and then they eventually go to sleep. So it's the same theory with us. And this is also something to do with our kids, no matter what age they are. So when they're elementary, maybe beginning middle school, it's kind of like, okay, well, we're going to do this together and help them with the bedtime routine. And then as they get older, like late middle school, high school, just giving them gentle reminders of like, oh, hey, did you do this? Or like, oh, it's almost time for bed. And so in that way, they can start establishing good sleep hygiene habits also. Okay, the next two areas we're going to be focusing on are mental health and emotional health. What I mean by mental health for the purpose of self-care is how we process information and the part of our brain that helps with decision-making and looking at all possible choices. Emotional health is how we feel, how we express ourselves, how we feel about our relationships and interactions with others. They're very interrelated, but one is more like the thinking part and one is more the feeling part. And there are various self-care techniques to help in each area. Okay, so first we're going to start with mental self-care. And here are some self-care practices to help keep the mind clear and focused, which will help us reduce stress and better enjoy our favorite activities. So the first of the mental self-care tools is mindfulness. Mindfulness is to be fully present in the moment without judging the moment. Both parts of that sentence are important. Fully present because we do a lot of things on autopilot, right? Like we're doing something and not really thinking about it. We're thinking of the things we have to do or the next thing we're going to do. And so being fully present is a good way to be just thinking about one thing, whatever's happening in front of us. And then without judging the moment, excuse me, because we're trying to experience the moment and not think about it. So even if it's a positive judgment, like if we go outside and, oh, what a beautiful sky, that's a judgment because we're thinking about what the moment is versus just experiencing it. And so one way we can be fully in the moment and not judge it is to describe what our senses are experiencing. So for example, we can go out into nature and, okay, what do we see? We see the trees and we see the sky. And what do we hear? We hear the birds chirping. What do we smell? We smell the flowers, or, and so we just by describing everything our senses feel, we can be fully in the moment. Washing hands is also a great one. We can feel we can practice that with our kids of, okay, what do you feel? And well, I feel the squishiness of the soap. And what do you smell? The scent of the soap. And so that's another way to be fully present in the moment. And that the mindfulness helps us, it prevents us from feeling overwhelmed and helps us single task. We're so used to multitasking nowadays, and we get all this information of notifications and appointments and scheduling and all these things that we need to do. And so mindfulness helps us just be in the moment and focus on one thing without thinking about anything else. And so I know we can't live in that world forever. We have to get back to the real world at some point. And so what happens is when we do go back to the real world and thinking about whatever we need to think about, whether it's stressful or not, we can think about it with fresh eyes and a clear mind and come up with new solutions that maybe we didn't think of before. Because when we are thinking about something a lot, it has a tendency to get bigger and overwhelm us. And so then our mind kind of closes off to finding new solutions. So by stepping away and doing some mindfulness exercises, we can step away from the situation, focus on something, relax, and then come back with fresh eyes. Okay, routines and schedules are also an important part of our mental self-care. Although they may seem similar, they're slightly different and they both have their benefits. Routines are something that we're used to doing and don't really have to think about. So, we wake up and get in the shower, make our bed, or whatever it is that is our routine. And routines are important because they can help conserve our brain energy because we just know, okay, this is what we're going to do. And they also bring us comfort because we know what to expect. Schedules, on the other hand, are more structured and can help with things that we don't usually do, but are also important. Those things may eventually become part of our routine, self-care, for example. At first, you may need to schedule it, and then eventually, hopefully, it'll become part of your routine. There's also the area where we might have to do things we don't really want to do, but we know are good for us and our well-being. So, scheduling doctor's appointments, paying bills on time, making necessary phone calls. They might not seem like self-care, but they will prevent stress in the future. And so that's how it'll be, good for us. And then for students, it will be scheduling a project or test schedule so that they can do a little bit every day versus leaving it all for the last minute or last few days, where it might be tempting to have that time off and just take 1 or 2 days to do it, but the quality won't be the same and the grade might be affected, and so that will lead to stress in the future. So a good self-care practice for students would be to do a little bit each day. Keeping your area organized also helps with our mental health. When we clear the visual clutter, it helps with the mental clutter because then we can focus. And so by cleaning and organizing our area, making the bed, clearing our desk, clearing countertops, it helps us clear our mind so we can focus on a task at hand or simply just to relax so we're not distracted. So clear space, clear mind. Next, we're going to be talking about some practices for emotional self-care. And this is so we can feel good within ourselves and in our relationships with others. Boundaries are very important. They are limits we set with ourselves and in our relationships to prevent feeling overwhelmed. Emotional boundaries are letting others know what we are and aren't comfortable talking about. These can be violated when people want to talk about something that makes us uncomfortable. For adults, it can be a relationship status, a job situation, or anything about our kids. For students, it could be college plans or, relationships or gossip or, talking about their friends, anything like that. And so maybe we don't want to talk about that subject. So some things we could say if someone wants to cross an emotional boundary could be, thank you for your concern, but I'm not ready to talk about that right now. Or I'm not comfortable talking about that topic with you, or I'm not comfortable talking about that topic right now. These are all things someone can say to not engage in uncomfortable conversations that might cause stress for them. Time boundaries are not overcommitting our time at the expense of our well-being, and they're very important because sometimes we take on too much and we can become overwhelmed. For adults, it can be overscheduling or overcommitting to too many things within a limited amount of time. So we might think, okay, yeah, this week I'll volunteer at the school and I'll organize this and I'll have lunch with my friend and I'll plan a play date, and we plan too many things. And so it overwhelms us because once we start doing things, we realize, oh, there's not going to be enough time to do everything. It can also be having too high expectations of what we can do with our time when we're on our own. It's like, okay, before the kids get out of school, I'll organize a garage and I'll garden and I'll do this and I'll do that. And then it can be stressful when we don't get to that, to do everything that we had planned to do. So if someone asks something that requires our time, and our time is limited, something we can say is, I can't do it this time, but if I'm available next time, I'll let you know. Turning off notifications can past a certain hour can also help you have time to yourself. And also, altering your expectations a little bit can be helpful, where instead of trying to do everything in one day, make a list and, okay, I'm going to do 3 or 4 things today, and those can probably get done. And within a matter of a week, you'll be doing 15 to 20 things. And so it's much different trying to do 15 to 20 things in one day versus, okay, I'm going to do 3 to 4 today and then 3 or 4 next day, etc. For children, time boundaries can be crossed by doing too many activities, either on their own accord. Sometimes the young kids get very excited about trying lots of things. And so I want to try this, I want to try that. And as the season goes on, each activity has more time constraints. So then it starts to be too much. The older kids might might take on too much when trying to do lots of extracurriculars or a lot of advanced classes. And so they put a lot of pressure on themselves once those classes start picking up. Or sometimes, as well-intentioned as we are, sometimes us as parents schedule them for too many things. And so they can be doing too much on any of those situations. And so either way, it's important to schedule some downtime along with all the activities. And so the way I like to do that is either schedule like a set amount, like, okay, an hour of nothingness in the middle of the day or at the end of the day. Or the way I do it is I overschedule things. So if I think something's going to take an hour, I'll say it's going to take 2 hours. And if I usually, to get from here to there takes 15 minutes, I'll say it takes, 40 minutes. And so I'll overschedule everything. And that way, in case it takes longer than expected, then I'm not stressed out. Or, just simply to enjoy the activity more, we can take our time doing it. So here's some of the benefits of socializing. Socializing is very important for emotional self-care because it does have so many benefits. It decreases feelings of loneliness because we are with other people. It helps us feel heard and validated. A lot of times when we're going through something, we think, we're the only ones going through it, or no one else could understand what we're going through. And then once we start talking about it, not only does it make us feel better letting it out, but then a lot of times we realize, oh, like this person's been going through it too, and then they can help us in some way. It exposes us to new experiences because when our friends tell us, oh, I'm trying this, it's like, oh, something I hadn't never heard of, or I would have never thought of trying. And so now you have someone that has those experiences that you can ask. It gives us comfort with shared experiences because, we talk about like, oh, remember when we did this? So that gives us comfort, and it improves cognitive ability and can improve longevity also. For adults, socializing can also help us with feeling accountable, because just like our friends tell us new experiences, we tell them, oh, I'm gonna try this, and so then it gives us some accountability of like following through. And for children and students, it is a way to escape their stress, right? Like socializing with friends, it's the one time that they can hang out with their friends and not be hanging out with their friends in a school environment. So then that's a time when they can relax too. Okay, so here are some examples of socializing for both individuals and adults and children. So in person, we can get together at someone's house or a mutual place, exercise, do any of the things that we talked about, we can do together with a friend. Again, sporting events, concerts, we live in a place where a lot of these events come into town, so we can do that, go to a museum, play day at the park. FaceTime to talk or watch a show together. There's the watch party feature on like a lot of the streaming, where you can watch a show together with your friends and kind of watch it at the same time and talk about it. A phone call to hear a person's voice versus texting. It's nice to like talk to the person and not just talk to them via text. And so if you don't have time for these activities, send a text to make a date for an activity. As full as our lives are, our loved ones' lives are just as full. And so sometimes we send them a text when we have time of, hey, can you talk? And it's like, oh, no, I can't. So then if I know I have some free time, say Thursday afternoon, it's like, I'll send a text to somebody Monday or Tuesday of, hey, are you available Thursday afternoon? And then, yeah, I am. And so then we'll make a date to have a phone call date like that. And my parents live in Texas, and so every Sunday we do FaceTime with the whole family to like keep in touch, and that's a great way to keep in touch. Also, a phone call, a FaceTime call to see people who aren't close to us physically. Okay, so having a creative outlet is a great form of emotional self-care. It increases feelings of happiness and helps mind think in new ways. It helps us express ourselves, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. So we can get lost in the activity when dealing with stressful situations, or even if there's not a stressful situation, just for fun, we can like get lost in it, right? And so here are some areas where we can use our creativity. With writing, journaling, poems, short stories, essays, music, anything having to do with music, art, drawing, painting, coloring. I love adult coloring and animating for there's a lot of programs where it's much more accessible to do computer animating now. Cooking, creating new dishes, that's a creative outlet also. Okay, and here's some examples of hobbies and favorite activities. I placed them at the end because they go, a lot of them go in different categories. So reading, writing, jogging, cooking, dancing, singing, playing an instrument, coloring, painting, watching TV shows, playing video games. Yes, video games are on here. Everything in moderation is good. It helps, it can help you think critically, and when done as a family, it's lots of fun. And yeah, so it's on here. Getting a massage, beauty appointments, pampering is okay too. Board games, puzzles, walking in nature, and so many others, right? Like any hobby or favorite activity is good. Sometimes we don't have time to do the things we enjoy, but it's important to make time for them in the midst of all the things we have to do. And so if you can, take some time to write down any activities and hobbies that you'd like to try. I know when I began my self-care journey, I had kind of forgotten what my favorite activities and hobbies were because there was no time for them. And so, sometimes when I would finish the to-do list on those rare occasions where, oh, I did everything I was supposed to do, and then, oh, what do I want to do? And then the mind would like naturally go to like the shoulds and the have tos, right? Like, well, I couldn't think of anything, so let me get started on the next days. And so I took some time and actually wrote down everything that, okay, oh, I remember I used to like this, and oh, I would like to try that. And so once I made the list, it made me want to try it. Then I was like, oh yeah, this is a lot of stuff that I haven't done in a while. And so I encourage you to make your list and get reconnected with things you haven't done in a while, or discover a new activity that you've been wanting to try. And if you'd like to share some of your favorite activities, please do so in the chat. I would love to hear about them. So how to begin incorporating self-care. I know there's been a lot of information today, so it might be like, well, where do I begin incorporating self-care? So here are some steps to help you. So the first one would be set self-care goals. Think about each category and what would help you within each category. So, the physical, the mental, the emotional, what would help you? So number one is just a thinking step, like, okay, I would, benefit from doing some exercising, or maybe the breathing exercises, or, whatever works for you, and whatever number you need per category also. So number two, begin implementing self-care goals into your routine. So first, start with one at a time, not even one per category, just one exercise, one self-care goal at a time. And then once that one becomes a part of your routine, then okay, I'll add from the other categories. And then after that, then two per category, until you have established a self-care routine that works for you. And number three, be patient with the process in the beginning. New habits and routines take time. At first, it may be challenging to practice self-care on a consistent basis, but if you keep trying and make it a priority, self-care will become a part of your daily or weekly routine, whichever works for you. So here are the quotes we started off with as a reminder of what self-care encompasses. So self-care is not selfish, and so make sure to make it a part of your life and not feel bad about it. It's very important. And do something today that your future self will thank you for. I hope I have shed some light on this topic for you and your family. And thank you for attending, and thank you for listening.